let's talk about unselfishness. What if I told you that one of our most cherished virtues was actually a pretty sophisticated tool of control? Well, today we are diving deep into Friedrich Nietzsche's radical critique of being good, and why he believed all that praise for self-sacrifice, well, it has a hidden and, frankly, much darker purpose.
It seems like such a simple question, right? Of course it is. I mean, it's basically the gold standard of morality. But Nietzsche, he challenges us to get out our magnifying glass, to apply a kind of forensic science to our own virtues and ask a really uncomfortable question. Who do they actually serve? Think about it. We're all taught from day one that putting other people first is the absolute pinnacle of being a good person. It's praised everywhere, in our stories, at our jobs, in our communities. But Nietzsche wants us to pull back the curtain on all this universal praise.
And what he finds behind that curtain is, well, it's kind of startling. He argues that this whole celebration of unselfishness, it's not really about genuine goodness at all. Nope, it's about the cold, calculated self-interest of the group, what he famously called the herd. And this right here is the absolute key. The herd instinct is society's most powerful drive, self-preservation. See, the herd doesn't value greatness, it values utility. It wants members who are predictable, who are hardworking, and most importantly, who aren't going to be dangerous to the stability of the group. So this is where Nietzsche really flips the script. He basically translates our moral language. So when the herd tells you, "You're such a good person," what Nietzsche hears is a quiet little calculation. You are useful to us. When it praises your virtue, he hears, "Hey, the way you deny yourself, that really benefits us." That praise, it's not a reward, it's a leash. And that leads to this crucial point. When you live completely by the herd's code, your purpose is never truly your own. The object of your entire existence is basically assigned to you by the group. And the result? You never reach your full potential. You become a shriveled version of yourself, just a functional tool for whatever the collective needs. So, if this is all a big system of control, you gotta ask, who's pulling the strings? Well, Nietzsche has a name for them, the teachers of unselfishness. And here is the brilliant, cynical twist. According to Nietzsche, these teachers, the people and institutions that are always preaching the gospel of self-sacrifice, they're almost never unselfish themselves. He sees them as shrewd manipulators who stand to benefit from your sacrifice. They don't want a world full of brilliant, unpredictable individuals. They want a safe, predictable environment where things stay comfortable for them. And he lays out their playbook, step by step. First, you frame egoism, that natural drive for personal growth and power, as something fundamentally evil. Then you praise its exact opposite, self-sacrifice, as the highest virtue. You even offer up heroic status to those who completely destroy themselves for the cause, which, ensures a steady supply of new recruits. And the endgame? A hardworking, predictable herd that keeps itself in line. So what's the payment you get for giving up your own ambition? It's not real power, it's not fulfillment, it's vanity. It's the social status of being called good. Nietzsche compares it to the bread and circuses of ancient Rome, just a cheap distraction offered up by the powerful to keep everyone else docile, trading their own innate will to power for a simple pat on the back. Okay, so what's the big deal? What's the actual price of this system? Nietzsche argues that this so-called goodness comes at a huge cost, not just for you, the individual, but for the entire future of humanity itself. For the person who completely buys in, the cost is their own dignity. It's a total suppression of creativity, a loss of your true self, and a slow slide into what Nietzsche calls intellectual poverty. You stop being a unique person, and you just become a function, a tool whose only value is how useful you are to others. And for society as a whole, the cost is stagnation. In its obsessive quest for safety and predictability, the herd ends up suppressing the very people it needs the most. The innovators, the creators, the dangerous ones, whose eruptions of genius are the real engines of human progress. And that just leads to this really chilling question. I mean, what if we actually succeed? What if we manage to tame everyone, to root out every last bit of dangerous self-interest? We might get a perfectly safe, predictable society, sure, but we'd also be a stagnant, laborious machine with no real, noble purpose. But here's the thing about Nietzsche. He's not just here to tear everything down. He actually proposes a radical alternative.
It's a path that requires a ton of courage, the courage to embrace a healthy, noble kind of selfishness. Now, we have to be super clear about what he means by this. Healthy egoism isn't about petty greed or, stepping on other people to get ahead. Not at all. It's the powerful, self-affirming drive of a creator, someone who gives and acts not out of some sense of duty or lack, but out of an overabundance of their own strength, defining their own values and their own purpose. So really, you're left with two paths, a stark choice. You have the unselfish man, who lets his entire existence be dictated by others, becoming just a fragment of the species. Or you have the noble man, the one who practices a healthy egoism, defines his own existence, acts like a creator, and becomes whole unto himself. So when you boil it all down, the ultimate challenge Nietzsche leaves us with is this: to see through the herd's moral code, to question that unconditional command to always be unselfish, and to take on the truly heroic task of discovering and becoming who you are actually meant to be. Because in the end, Nietzsche suggests that the greatest purpose you can have isn't to be another useful gear in the machine of society, but to become a source of light and energy for yourself and for the world, to become a sun that shines with its own light. Something to think about, right?